Democrats are praising California Governor Gavin Newsom for his 4th of July ad targeting Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Let's watch.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom, it's under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote, restricting speech in classrooms, even criminalizing women and doctors. I urge all of you living in Florida to join the fight, or join us in California, where we still believe in freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom to choose, freedom from hate, and the freedom to love. Don't let them take your freedom.
Paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022.
Newsom purchased airtime in Florida over the long weekend, urging Americans to move from Florida to California. Well, Kim, as our California resident, do you feel like this is the freedom state you're living in?
No, absolutely not. And that's what's so odd about this ad is that California is actually a heavily regulated state. And this idea of freedom to choose, yes, okay, we do have that. But Florida, he's targeting Florida. We don't know about what Florida is going to do just yet when it comes to, after the Roe v. Wade. We don't really know what Florida is going to do just yet. But, here in California, there's heavy vaccine mandates. There's still mask mandates for certain kids in certain schools and areas. And, it's just a very, to say that this is a freedom state, this is a heavily regulated state. But it's interesting he's targeting Floridians, like saying, hey, move to California because California is bleeding people. So when I first heard about Gavin Newsom running these ads, my first instinct was, wow, this guy is like trying to be president of the United States, right? He's running ads in different states. But now seeing this, I realized, no, I think he's trying to get people back to California. California's losing people, and he's trying to attract people back in. But I don't know if this is the right way to go about attracting people back to California by saying, your state sucks, so come live here.
Right, and especially with the freedom part, I associate, and I think even most people do, Newsom and sort of California governance with like nanny state liberalism, right?
Right.
I mean, clearly his value and the value of many Democratic leaders in your state is that, we put people's health as the most serious thing for us, and we'll compromise people's safety to do it. We think we know what's better for them than they do. Like that's the ideology, not the it's laughable. The ideology is here's where all the freedom is, all the individual rights are. Like that's not. I don't think that's even their self-professed ideology.
We weren't even allowed to go to the beach during the pandemic.
Right.
It was closed, so there wasn't any freedom.
Well, while we're talking about freedom and rights, I would mention that Ron DeSantis just moved to pass a law making people declare their political affiliations, which I think is a major issue when we're talking about constitutional rights and liberty. But I'll leave that aside to discuss this point.
There's plenty going on, to be fair, in Florida governance that I don't agree with. That I would, like you, probably would be critical of some of the ways the kind of textbook and curriculum stuff have shaken out. I do object to some of the things people are objecting to that are in schools. Now, whether these kind of cumbersome state regulations are the way to address that, I tend to think no in most cases. But
I think this is a good move in terms of political strategy, and I'll say this, right? We've been talking a lot about people don't really want Biden to run for re-election. We don't feel like there have been any Democrats really emerge as people that can. You've seen a lot of people throw around Newsom's name. We had that conversation a little while ago when I said, well, if that was something they wanted, Newsom did want to emerge as a figure that could challenge a DeSantis. I think this would be the time now for him to start mobilizing that kind of mass audience. So I like that as far as a strategic move. Second, I respect him recognizing that DeSantis is a legitimate person to be worried about. I think a lot of people, we know on the side that DeSantis is an emerging figure. It's very likely that he could end up being the one to take it over Trump. So I think it's a smart, and it shows he's paying attention to go after Florida and DeSantis and try to do that. And my third final point, Florida did this to New York. During the pandemic, they couldn't wait to steal our residents. Oh, New York is doing all this and the next thing, all the regulations. So it's about time.
True.
Yes.
That's true.
So I can't knock it coming from there. So I like it as a move. I
agree. I agree with all of what you just said, but it's the what he's saying in order to attract people to California is so odd and not totally necessarily true. There's plenty about this state that he could talk about that would attract people to the state of California. I mean, look, you can smoke weed, right? So he could have said, hey, you can come here and smoke weed. It's legal. Certainly, so there are certain freedom
That's how you win
things,
my vote, yeah.
Right, and, there's certain freedom things that you can't get. Like here in California, you could buy liquor at the grocery store. Not all states have that. In my home state of Idaho, you have to go to a state-run liquor store. So there are things about California. We have great weather. We have the best weather in the country. We have the best scenery. I would say that California is the most beautiful state, which is what's so difficult for me. I don't want to leave the state because of just how beautiful the natural beauty of California and the weather. There's a lot to like about the state, but there's a lot that are not, people aren't going to come live in California where it's outrageously expensive from Florida. That's just not going to happen.
I think I like seeing them juxtaposed against one another for this reason. Florida has the reputation Florida has, especially in terms of politics and all these different things that we know in America, isn't necessarily as well known other places or to people. Like when I first moved to America, the first place I lived in Florida for a year because my mommy and them, beach, it seemed most similar to where we're from, right. This and the next thing, sunny, all these different things. And I know a lot of people who are not politically involved, not politically inclined, that go and rush to Florida and stuff, only to realize they have all these kind of issues they feel more like a person like me would feel about Florida once they're there. So I think, Newsom deciding to do this ad and let people see the reason you really like Florida, you go to Florida in spite of some political things you might not be here for, is because of the sun and the this and all these liberal things that I get. Y'all feel are like restraints and punishments, but a lot of my camp don't feel that way about the mask and the different regulations Newsom's come. So I think he's doing a good job targeting those folks to say, hey, I know you thought you liked Florida and the sun, this is the next thing, but come over here, It's
funny that Florida is now identified.
Yeah.
Florida is now this kind of almost quintessential sort of red state, and because its governor is DeSantis, who is now this very prominent Republican, I very well could be, or even maybe likely to be, the 2024 candidate. So it has made Florida this very standout kind of red state, even though for most of our lives, Kim, right, Florida's been this swing state, or was thought of as this swing state, blue to red, right. And now it's pretty decisively landed in the red category for the foreseeable future, right. Which is interesting, I think.
Well, one thing that Newsom could have said in order to attract people to California, even though there's a high price tag, he could have said, well, we'll give you some money. Though if you move here, we'll give you money, because that's what California is all about. It is official now. Californians who filed their taxes in 2020 will get one-time payments totaling at about $9.5 billion from the state starting in October to help offset inflation, particularly gas inflation. And that is according to the San Francisco Chronicle. So in order to get a refund, you must have filed a 2020 California tax return by October 15th of 2021. And you must also meet income requirements that of being a California resident, also for at least 6 months. In 2020, be a resident on the date the payment is issued, and have not been eligible to be claimed as a dependent on someone else's 2020 tax return. So there are some parameters there, but I think that the checks they're going to cut range anywhere from $200 to, I think, over maybe even $1,000 or more for people. That. I think I'm not 100%. I know the bottom tier, I believe, is $200, and then it goes up a bit from there. So they are trying to give some money, but you know what? Look, us Californians say, hey, get rid of the tax on the gas. That is the better way to go about this, and somehow lower. Why are we paying so much higher gas prices in our state than anywhere else in the country? Why is there such a discrepancy? When the Saudis price out the oil barrels, do they do it based on like, oh, well, if you live in California, though, you're going to pay this much more than if you live in Michigan or Ohio? Like, how does that work?
No, I drove back. I was in Aspen, then I was in Detroit seeing some family. I drove back to D.C. this weekend from Detroit, 8 hours in the car, had to fill up twice. Ooh, brutal. Not as bad as where you are, Kim, but still not good.
We're paying about $7 a gallon.
That's
right now
horrible. That's really horrible.
Yeah, in the upper sixes, and even some areas up to 7. So
no, people who have to. I'm lucky. I don't have to drive very much for my job. I don't have to drive at all. But for all the people who have, I have relatives and friends, obviously, who have small businesses, or I know someone who works in refrigeration, has to drive a truck all over the place, and the hit that people must be taking is just is just it's got to be astronomical. And you can't say to these people, I think they talked about this, I think Ryan and Emily talked about this on Friday, but Joe Biden's recent tweet about how, well, you have to understand, like, this is a wartime. So
no,
you have to so you just, we have to ask
Are we at war?
Right, yeah. Good point, Kim. Oh, I don't remember Congress taking a vote on that, actually.
No.
It's wrong. It's the stupidest messaging I can possibly imagine. But this is the Biden administration's message to the American people. Not, here's what we're going to do to alleviate your suffering, but, well, it's important. Sorry, you have to suffer.
Well, I'm all for California cutting people a check, okay? I'm here for that. New York City don't give me no money back, so $200,000, however much, I love that they're trying
Well, maybe Newsom, unlike Biden, I guess, has decided that something small has
Listen,
to be
he
done.
Clearly has his ear to the ground, and he's doing something to respond to needs, and I like that. I'm not going to criticize that from where I'm sitting. I like that. I think he's doing good to respond to what are and honestly pretty preemptively in comparison to everybody else. I don't think we're hearing enough noise about what DeSantis is going to be as an opponent, and in terms of COVID relief, money, this and the next thing. I like it. I'm here for it.
All right, well, tomorrow on Rising, Matt Stoller will be back with us to talk about the United States airline debacle, and our Rising panel will also discuss news of the day.
And I'll be back with you, filling in for Brianna Joy Gray for the rest of the week.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're now available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Be sure to download us. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.